Live on the Joy News channel, and also on Joy 99.7 FM. This is The Probe. We are also live on myjoyonline.com. We are on a number of affiliates, also on all our social media platforms. Tonight is the No to Galamsey fight, and we are taking it to the next generation. We'll hear their views on what exactly it is they expect to be done when it comes to Galamsey. But before we get into that, the issues about securitization of Galamsey has come up. Really, we'll start with what exactly we've done so far, where we are and what we can do in terms of taking it to the next level. We all know what Galamsey is by now, but for those of you who do not know, it's derived from the phrase gather them and sell. Those who engage in it, we know by now, are called Galamseyers. They are people who perform illegal gold mining. And of course, we know that Galamsey is also referred to as illegal artisanal small-scale mining. Now, this is where we are when it comes to what Galamsey is, and we'll get into the various slides on this. So if Ashlevi is ready, we'll get into it now. Let's get into the second part. So we talk about the local impact of Galamsey. Rivers serving as source of drinking water have been polluted. Mercury containing polluted water. We all know these basic facts. We know that farmlands have been destroyed by Galamsey operators. In the Mpoho district, for instance, in the western region, illegal mining activities has claimed many farmlands. And it's left the Subri River heavily polluted. We've seen Erastus Asaridonko's, documentary that he has put together so far on this particular situation in the Nimri forest. We've seen what is happening there. The second part of that documentary will be coming up, and these are some of the pictures. National impact. We have a video of alleged Galamsey men in gun battle with authorities, and that emerged on social media. We brought you that. We go on to some other things. The national impact. 16 suspects arrested over shooting incident at Asamantamfo. These are some of the things that have come up. We know how it's impacted on our environment. The cost of producing water has significantly shot up. That's according to the Ghana Water Company Limited. That's in January 2022. We also have filth in water bodies costing us too much money in treatment for use. That's still on the Ghana Water Company Limited. That's just in April. Also, they had to shut down 2 major treatment plants in the eastern region due to flooding in that area. That's October. We talk about the impact on cocoa production in Ghana, for instance. According to Bloomberg, more than 19,000 hectares, or about 2% of cocoa plantations destroyed by Galamsey operators. Cocoa output has slammed by 34% in the first 6 months of 2022 compared to last year. Ghana is unlikely to meet its initial cocoa output of 850,000 tons this year. Not to talk of the EU threatening to ban us. We've seen that on the post of the information minister. Before that, we had heard, and he says in Europe, there's a new legislation that could soon make Ghanaian cocoa and coffee unexportable to many international markets. Earlier this week in Brussels, he asked, I chaired a 2-day forum on the future of Ghanaian cocoa and coffee value chains in the face of this new EU legislation. That's where we are, threatening us. We've seen the national impact. We've heard the minister, the deputy minister, Lands and Natural Resources talk about this. Well, we cannot get into this, but of course, we've seen the national impact, we've seen the local impact, we've seen the global impact on this. These are some of the concerns that has been raised. We move on. At this point, we look at the national impact. Actually, let's move on this. And we've seen 2020 elections, the politicization of it. These are things we'll just quickly run through. Whilst we're fighting it, this is what was happening. Let's go. The next slide. We've seen 2016 elections. While Mahama was fighting Galamsey, this is what Akufo-Addo said. So the politicization. Let's not waste much time on that. We go. And Galamsey fights. Let's look at what we've done so far in terms of the initiative since 2017. From 2017, the government took the fight against illegal mining to a higher level by banning all forms of small-scale mining in the country for almost 2 years until it was lifted in December 14, 2018. What else have we done? We had an interministerial committee on illegal mining. It was also set up comprising relevant ministries such as the Lands and Natural Resources. We had Environment, Science and Technology, local government. We saw excavators being seized. Nothing has come out of it. Let's move on. What else have we done? We've seen deployment of Operation Vanguard, a joint police-military task force into this. From Operation Vanguard, we've seen a lot of these, initiatives, all these deployments. What has happened? The Galam Stop drones, we've seen mining guards were also deployed to support the crackdown of the menace. What else have we done? We move on to the next thing that we've done. These are some of the things that we've done so far, but We've seen the president mention that he's putting his presidency on the line. That's in 2017. He introduced Operation Halt in different phases. Still nothing. And we've seen him at the National House of Chiefs this week. That's just the past week. We'll talk about it. But we've seen Occupy Ghana, CSOs all joining the fight, asking for a declaration of a state of emergency in all mining areas. This is where we come to when it comes to the securitization of Galamsey. Is it time for a declaration of a state of emergency when it comes to Galamsey? So the Asantehene has called on Ghanaians to fight against climate change. We've seen him insisting that chiefs cannot be blamed for Galamsey. A successful Galamsey fight requires collaborative national effort. That's according to Akufo-Addo. He has been to the National House of Chiefs asking for something to be done about this. He's asking that it should not be politicized. So we all agree it is an existential threat. We also agree that by extension, it is a national security threat because it threatens our human security as a country. Then what exactly is the Commander-in-Chief of the Ghana Armed Forces waiting for? Why hasn't he deployed his men in all the units to declare a major war on illegal mining? Why haven't we securitized this menace, which he admits has failed? Police was supposed to maintain law and order, but that has obviously failed as well. So it is time to deploy our armed forces to take the war to Galamsey and restore law and order with the right resources. And this must be done simultaneously, all units of the military armed forces. And this war must include the use of deadly force, or do we need international help? Galamsey has local, national, and even global impacts, which we have talked about. Were we not in this country when we went to COP22 conference, a large delegation to learn and talk about how to save the environment? What happened to it? How come we are breaching international protocols? Mr. President, we all wait on you to put to use the powers we have all conferred on you. That is the only way you can prove to us that you are indeed not shielding anyone. It's time to declare that state of emergency. That way, there will be no politicization. You are asking Chief to help in not politicizing this issue. The power lies with you at this point. This is The Probe. I am Emefa Apawu. We return with the next generation on this program. Please stay.
Even though for centuries we have been a mining nation, mining did not pose a threat to the health of our environment and water bodies. The rules that you put in place for mining ensure that the sanctity of our lands remained intact and our water bodies remained unpolluted. Tragically, in the modern era, that is no longer the case. And that is why I've come to you today to talk about how together we can repair this dramatic situation. Since I took office on 7th January 2017, nearly 6 years ago, I have made it a central feature of my presidency to lead in the efforts to rid our country of this madness, which we all now call Galamsey. Indeed, it was an important aspect of my inaugural address of that day. It has not been easy. It has not been popular. And we have not got the immediate results that I was looking for. My stance on the issue cost my party and I significant losses in the mining communities. It turned out that my statement that I was putting my presidency on the line in the fight against Galamsey was neither bombast nor recklessness. It was the simple truth. We have tried many initiatives, including that of the community mining scheme and the establishment of a new legal regime for dealing with the perpetrators of this phenomenon, which has imposed severe sanctions on those Ghanaians and foreigners convicted of illegal mining. Still, we have not won the fight.
When you come to Galamsey, that is an albatross on our head. It's rather unfortunate that it's happened this way. Ghana was known as the Gold Coast, and therefore it was known. But during that time, it wasn't like the Galamsey that we are talking about. Many ones people were doing hundreds and hundreds of years ago. It was there. But unfortunately, it's gotten to a point where people are now using equipment and all that, and they don't care about the environment or anything. But the question is, who is in control of that security around the area? From the district level to the highest level. We are all talking about Galamsey. The government set up a military police to do it. Why have we not been able to stop it? So why? That's the point. Why haven't we been able to stop it? If you create a system where we say we will stop it, to the extent that the president says, I've put my presidency on the line, and yet it is going on, then to me, something is wrong somewhere.
Sure.
So we need to review why this is happening. Polluting our waters. And case in point is when I came back and hear that a Chinese woman who was supposedly deported is back in this country also doing Galamsey again. Who allowed her to come? Is it that our borders are porous? Or what? So what happened?
Sure.
And people know who are doing the Galamsey. They know the people are working there in the communities with those people. Unfortunately, unemployment may be the problem. Fine, but that is not to say that we have to destroy environments.
Sure.
Unemployment could be a problem. Fine, so people in communities will say.
So that's the Asante Otumfuo say to the second. Earlier, you heard President Akufo-Addo when he visited the National House of Chiefs in the Ashanti region just last week on this, asking the chiefs for their support in dealing with the situation. Admittedly, what we've done so far has failed when it comes to this fight against illegal mining. The hashtag No to Galamsey is on. You can join in that discussion. But tonight is specifically for the future generation. We need to hear their voices. This is about them also. The environment must be protected for the future generation. This evening, I have a rich, setup when it comes to the future generation, handpicked from all sectors. And of course, if you're watching this evening and you have that future generation also sitting by you, it's a good time for them to text. I've seen some letters also written to the president that we'll be going through as well. But let me introduce my guests for tonight. I have Ruth Abuchi. She's a lower 6 student at Alpha Beta Education Centers in Dansoman, joining us this evening. We have Apel Jesse. She is the tertiary student all the way in some foreign country, also joining us. I have Amina Al-Hassan, journalism student at GIJ in the studios with me. Welcome, Amina. I also have Anthony Julius joining us via Zoom, and then also Hadi Yakubu, Economic Fighters League. He's a fighter general, also joining us. Subsequently, we'll have Erasto Sasari-Donko also joining me shortly. We'll be airing part 2 of Destruction for Gold tomorrow, so we'll get him joining us much later. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Let me test your microphones on Zoom. I hope you're all doing well.
Oh, yeah, we're all doing well. Thank you.
Good to see you all. But because it's a school...
Good to see Emefa.
Yes, because it's a school night, I would want to finish with Ruth so she can go and sleep early and go to school in the morning. So, Ruth, how are you doing?
Hi, good evening. I'm doing fine.
It's good to see you, Ruth. So, first, we want to know, at your level, you are a lower 6 student. I have the tertiary students with me. We'll hear their views on this. But first of all, I know that now the youth of this, generation or your kind, you have a lot of discussion on various issues. I don't know if Galamsey has come up at your level. What are your thoughts exactly about Galamsey and its impact on the environment, you'd say?
Well, I would say that we have talked about Galamsey quite a bit at school, but my thoughts on the matter would be that the recent Galamsey crisis has been very alarming and very frightening for me. It seems to me that people involved in this crime are not afraid of the ramifications that this act, if continued, will have on our sources of water. It's just so scary for me. And just the thought that one morning I may wake up and turn on the tap to see dark brown water flowing out of it, and then maybe another morning going to turn on the tap and have no water flow out at all is so terrifying to me. And it's just shocking that people would still carry out this act despite knowing all the problems it has caused. This is a problem we have been facing for years and years, and I won't be saying anything new if I said that Galamsey is destroying our water bodies and putting people's lives at risk. There's no person in the country that doesn't know of these facts, and that's precisely what makes it all the more unnerving that there has not been a more proactive approach to shutting this operation down.
What do you think about the politicization of the fight so far?
Regarding the politicization, I don't think that it's completely pointless to politicize such a fight. I think that we are trying to hold the authorities in charge of protecting the citizens and the environment accountable by doing this. However, you have to ask yourself this question: are the blamed authorities really doing anything about it? And what about those who are doing the blaming themselves? Every problem in this country is being politicized, being used as a way to turn public opinion in favor of the opposition party. But just because it has become politicized does not mean that the problem will be solved. And I will only really be interested in the politicization of the fight to defeat Galamsey if the people accusing the president, the chiefs, the MPs, and other authorities actually start acting instead of waiting for more opportunities to pin the problem on the opposition. I think Ghana politics is really full of a lot of accusatory backlash and arguments, which are, it's not going to save us once all our fish die and our rivers dry up and become black like the Odao River. And then we are going to have to be begging the IMF for more loans to fix our water crisis. And I think for politicization to bring about results, both the accused party and the people doing the accusing have to work towards the common goal of uprooting the Galamsey problem. If not, bringing politics into the matter simply just makes the issue a blame game. I mean, it would be justifiable if those who blamed other politicians about the country's problems were actually taking the initiative to solve the problem. Okay. But if both of the people who are doing the complaining are the people, and the people receiving the blame are taking no collective initiative to solve the problem, then we are going to keep on pushing ourselves back to square one.
Okay. Well, but that said, Ruth, what then are you expecting authorities to do about this specifically? I would want you to speak to the president much later, just before I let you off. But what would you want authorities to do about this situation as the future generation?
Of course, our authorities need to act now, because it is not as if the authorities in Ghana don't know how to fix this problem. Because Ghana is a country where problems like this need to be dealt with using force. They should shut down areas with illegal mining activity again, round up the miners, and be asking local people to help with investigation. But I should not stop there. They must find the evil masterminds behind these operations that have been exploiting Ghanaian lands for decades and decades. Because the miners are merely the people who are desperate for extra money and work amidst this economic turmoil. And the authorities need to be more responsible for getting the educated and uneducated youth into jobs with sustainable pay before these youth decide to start delving into these illegal activities as a last resort to survive in this toughened economy.
Okay.
I think the main problem is the authorities are not acting enough, and we need them to be very proactive about such things, such as providing employment to set the ball rolling.
Okay. Well, and finally, Ruth, I know it's school night. Like I said, I would have to let you go and rest for school tomorrow. But if you were to speak directly to the president of the land, President Akufo-Addo, What would you tell him when it comes to the fight against Galamsey?
Well, I did actually kind of prepare a message for him. So I'd just like to read that. Dear Mr. President, Mr. Akufo-Addo, I aspire to work in this country later on in my life to give back to the people and the community that raised me. This current issue on Galamsey we are facing is very upsetting for me. This problem has been recurring over the decades to the point where it has reached a crisis, and I fear for a stable and sustainable future for myself and other Ghanaian youth. I hope, Mr. President, with my whole heart, that you can address this crisis with the urgency at which it needs to be looked at. As you stated in your 2017 speech, you said you would put your presidency on the line to tackle the issue of Galamsey. It is true, I may never be able to understand the crushing pressure that comes with taking hold of a country, being responsible for a whole nation full of millions of people, many who need a lot of help in diverse areas. You are faced with harsh criticisms and denouncements that I may never have to receive in my lifetime to such an extent. But I hope you continue to push past these pressures and take a hands-on approach to demolishing the problem through an in-depth investigation into the owners of these illegal mining businesses and help free the victimized miners. I also hope that as the country also works towards fulfillment of the Sustainable Development Goals, I hope you can take one step forward with us on achieving Sustainable Development Goal 6, which is clean water and sanitation, by taking care of the Galamsey issue. I believe that our country has the resources and the capabilities to put an end to this decade-long issue, such as the resources used in the upcoming Marine Drive project. I have the belief that if the government really puts its foot down and decides to uproot this obstacle before its effects become disastrous, we will be able to take a big leap forward in terms of economic development. As a future leader in this world, I want to contribute to my country by becoming an entrepreneur who supports young writers, owning my own publishing company and my own clothing business company. So you can rest assured that you have some youth support for the future. I hope this message will move you to be more active on handling the current issue of environmental degradation and corruption to ensure the water security as well as the job security of your citizens for the future. Thank you so much for listening to me.
Thank you very much, Ruth. May I ask, I know it's not right to ask a lady her age, but may I ask how old you are, Ruth?
I'm 17.
Okay. Thank you very much, Ruth. And I know you have tests tomorrow, so thank you very much for joining us. And we are grateful. Continue to lead the fight. No to Galamsey, since I know you talk about everything at this point. So lead the fight in your school, Alpha Beta Education Centers in Dansoman, and we'll be monitoring that. Thank you so much, Ruth. And she'll have to leave us at this point. And I have the older generation, at least they are still the future, but a bit older than Ruth joining us. And Amina is with me in the studio. I also have Apawu JC on Zoom, and then also Hadi Yakubu, and then also Julius also on Zoom. So let me come to the studio. Amina, you've just heard Ruth there on this. I know you've been talking about this Galamsey menace amongst others. Really, where we are, what we've done so far, and where we are today, what do you think could be the reason why we are not winning this fight?
I think when it comes to Galamsey, we are not really ready to fight it, because if we were, we wouldn't have even come to this current situation. When the president talked about putting his presidency on the line and everything, we were happy, and we were told even small-scale mining was put on hold for a while. But to come to this, and even to know that alleged party members were going through with Galamsey even when the sanction was put in place, that means we were never ready for the fight. We were never ready.
Interesting. Well, I know I'll give all of you the opportunity to speak directly to the president on this, since the hashtag No to Galamsey is on. Wherever he is, I'm told he's gone to France, but wherever he is, I'm sure that your messages will get to him on this. You are the future. Apawu JC, You are out there, at least you are not in Ghana, but you come from the eastern region, for instance. Tell us, what really are we lacking when it comes to this fight against Galamsey? You have to unmute, Apawu.
Thank you so much, Emefa. Saddened by the current state of our environment with regards to Galamsey. I feel like it's now time that we have to, the president has to take the bull by the horn and, address this menace to the very bottom. Because when we look at mining, mining is one of, the source of revenues to the country. But what we are concerned about as a country is illegal mining. How can we make sure that, mining can still go on, but at the end of the day, it does not affect our environment, our water bodies, and our forest reserves? And I have looked at so many things. For instance, Ghana is part of the Sustainable Developmental Goals, and I looked at the SDG 13, which stands for climate action. I looked at SDG 6, which stands for clean water and sanitation. And I asked myself, where is our position in our fight to make sure our people are getting clean water, enjoying good sanitation, and also where are we on climate, action? You mentioned prior to this, panel, you showed on TV how we all attended. Ghana attended the COP22 conference. What did we learn from that? What are we doing at this point? I feel it's now time for the government, the authorities involved, to go back to the drawing board. Because like the president said way back in 2017, he said, I'm going to put my presidency on the line. And Ghanaians are beginning to question that. Is the president really putting his presidency on the line? Maybe it's now time for him to go back on the drawing board and see what we can best, do best to solve this menace. Okay. And I feel like fighting Galamsey is not the president's job. I feel like we as a nation, the opinion leaders, students, teachers, members of parliament, ministers, everyone is involved, the media. For instance, you said I'm currently in Canada. I'm in Western University, a second-year student in medical science. How do I know about this? Because during this week, I was going through, my social media feeds, and I saw Joy had samples of, our water river bodies. And I was like, is this, the state of our water bodies? I was alarmed. And that was why when you put it up that today you are going to have that, I'm very interested. So to air my views, and I know, a government official somewhere is listening. The president is listening wherever he is. And so I feel like it's a collaborative effort. We've not won the fight. We've not even begun it. It's now time for us to go back to the drawing board, make sure we put down, pragmatic measures to drastically take away illegal mining, save our communities. Because look at our water bodies. Ghana, most of our homes are supplied with electricity through hydroelectric power, Akosombo Dam, important rivers. And we have all these rivers in devastating states. And so we also need water for domestic use, for industrial purposes. So we need to look at that. And I have said this. This week I was speaking to, my dad, and I was telling him, listen, if we are fighting against illegal mining, what are we doing for the mining communities? What plans do we have in place for them? Because you can't tell me that something that I am fended on for a livelihood, you are taking me off it. Do you get what I'm trying to say? So what alternative do you have? This government has juicy policies. They speak about, free SHS. And you, for one, should know how, I have supported this policy. They speak about planting for food and jobs, one district, one factory. I think it is now time for the government to also, think about how we can implement some of these policies in those communities. How can we employ these people? How can we educate these people? Because when we educate a population, you would realize that it will go, a long way to help the population. And you asked, I forgot the lady's name, the one who just left. She did a very good job. Ruth. You asked her if she knows about illegal mining. I have known about illegal mining since my primary school days because we learned right from primary, how we can protect our environment. We learn about the negative effects of sand winning, negative effects of quarrying rocks and all of that. So we know it.
But let me ask, Apawu. So you all know about it as youth. You talked about the fact that you know about Galamsey since you were in primary school. But we've had some of your colleagues, youth like you, who have dropped out of school and are engaging in Galamsey. How come?
Yeah. And that's what I was saying, that we do not, their parents or the youth themselves do not have jobs. They do not have vocational skills to harness, their talents. Because when these things are available, trust me, you wouldn't want to find yourself in illegal mining. Because one, you should also pay attention to the fact that it has its, side effects.
Okay.
There have been people who have died from mining, people who have been exposed to serious chemicals, which has created numerous health risks. There are health risks involved. They know that. So it's not like it's a good thing for them to do. But the situation in which they find themselves. Now, I was listening to His Majesty Otufo Sejutu, and he said he thinks that one of the major problems is unemployment. And I agree with him, because if we give our people employment, if we educate them, and here we have TVET, the government, coming up with TVET. Let's stick it to those communities. Let's engage them. Let's bring everyone on board. When you talk about the Youth Start program, we can invite people in the mining communities, train them to become great entrepreneurs. So I think it's a national effort. It's not a partisan issue. It requires national effort. Everyone coming together, being involved of the fight against Galamsey. Okay. And I think when we do that, we will achieve great results.
Okay. Well, I'll come to you much later on this, whether you fear for your future when it comes to the environment, amongst others. But Hadi, let me bring you in. At least you are not new to this particular fight, even though you're the youth as well. Economic Fighters League, fighting on various fronts, amongst others. You've seen what we've done over the period up until now. Do you really think that Galamsey, the way we are fighting it, we are actually going to win it? What should we be doing differently, Hadi?
Thank you very much, Emefa. And good evening to Apawu JC and
thank you so much.
Amina. I think that's the name, Amina and Ruth. And it's just so emotional, the message that Ruth has for the president. But before I go on, I think, Emefa, I want to correct. Youth are not future generation, please. we are part of, we are here. We are here. We are not waiting for any future. We are here. And I think, that to call us future generations somehow postpones our agency to engage the issues of the land and to make sure that we also participate in creating the sort of society that we would like to live in and live for our own children and their children.
Well, that's actually debatable, but let's go on this. The youth definitely will be here for tomorrow and will be here today as well. So make the point about what you think ought to be done.
I think when we talk about a fight against Galamsey, there is no fight, to be honest with you. There's only talk, lip service, political shenanigans. There is no fight. There is no real fight against Galamsey. And I'm saying this on the basis that, look, surveillance, national security, the BNI, the police, the military, they know where the Galamsey is happening. Your journalists have been to those places. They formed those places. They formed people. People's faces are out there. We know the companies that are involved in this activity. And those companies are going on. They are registered in in people's names. Machines, heavy machines, are being moved from different areas of the country to these sites, river bodies. These machines cannot move unnoticed. You know, they cannot move unnoticed. These machines are heavy machines. When they are moving, you notice them. So there's actually no fight. If you know the actors who are engaged in this thing, and you know the people who are destroying the environment, and you are not doing anything for all these years, nothing concrete has been done, and all we hear is talk. You put your presidency on the line, but that means absolutely nothing. It means absolutely nothing. Like there's nothing that is being done so concretely to show that you've taken the issue of Galamsey and environmental terrorism, because this is terrorism in actual fact, and you are working tirelessly to ensure that it is kept it is nipped in the bud. So there is no fight.
Okay.
And there is no fight because of political economy issues. And I heard when you mentioned that the president said people shouldn't politicize Galamsey. But Galamsey is political. Mining is political because it is economics, and everything economic, Kwame Nkrumah will say, is political. Galamsey money is funding political parties in this country. You remember the Minister for Science, Environment and Innovation, Professor Frimpong Boateng. What did he say? He said, "Party in Yesika." So let's not shy away that there is no Galamsey in politics. Galamsey is funding political activities. And this is probably not limited to only one political party. It is happening across the board. And therefore, Galamsey is political. And if you do not look at the political economy issues, nothing is going to be done. Nothing is going ever to be done. So let's stop the pretenses. Let's stop the pretenses. It is important for Galamsey, or mining that destroys environment, and I want to emphasize this, mining that destroys environment, because there's a tendency also with, based on the class angles to this, the class framing, for us to concentrate more on illegal forms of mining that are threatening water bodies and other environmental and other ecosystems,
okay,
and leaving out legal mining, which can also, in some cases, affect the environment. So we need to analyze more critically in this manner.
Okay.
And then go beyond that. Galamsey or illegal mining or mining of any sort that destroys the environment needs to be declared what it is. It is environmental terrorism. And once it is declared environmental terrorism, I think the communities where these rivers are, citizens must mobilize. Citizens must mobilize and protect, because the state has completely failed. Somebody has talked about police and military, but we've seen military and police already deployed. In fact, they gave them helicopters and drones deployed to these areas. What the documentary by the illustrious Erasmus Asaredonko has shown is that some of these security people are actually protecting the people who are destroying the environment. So we have absolutely no hope. That's why I'm saying there is no fight. The citizens must mobilize and declare this sort of activity, declare this distraction as environmental terrorism against the well-being of all of us.
Okay.
And
well, Hadi, let me bring in Julius also. Let me bring in Julius at this point. Anthony Julius has also joined us via Zoom. Let me bring him in. Then we can look at the way forward on all this. We may have lost the fight now, but what can we do about it such that we can safeguard our environment and make sure that we win this particular fight. We can't give up hope on this. We need to win this fight at some point by all means. Julius, thank you once again for joining us.
But there's no fight.
It's okay, Hadi. Let me bring in Julius Anthony on this. Well, Julius, as youth though, do you think that we've been let down by the older generation? By older generation, I'm talking about executive, judiciary, legislature, all combined together. And are the youth actually being heard when it comes to this particular discourse? Julius, can you hear me? It doesn't look like we have Julius there on this. But I told you earlier about a letter also that has been written to us by a pupil. I think it's a JSS pupil. What age is it? Let's look at that particular letter that was also written. And I've seen a couple of messages also on our social media platforms that we'll be getting into on this. So Ashlevi, let's bring in that letter and then we can go through that particular. Okay, so this letter is directed at President Akufo-Addo. And he says, my name is Kelvin Ishura Ansong. I'm 11 years old and I'm in class 5. Please, I hope you're fine. But me, I'm not fine. Last week, our sir told us to watch some news on Joy TV. It was about some people who were doing galamsey and spoiling all our natural water bodies. All the rivers have turned like this way chocolate drink or granite soup. But our sir told us that water is colorless. So please, I want you to please send your soldiers and police people to catch those who are spoiling the water, so that the water will be colorless again and we can get some to drink. Thank you. So that's a simple letter from Kelvin Inshuansong. I've seen a few of those that I can bring some on shortly on all our social media platforms. If you have any such, feel free to share with us with the hashtag No to Galamsey. And this fight is on till we win it. We may have lost it today, but we will not give up on this. Amina, let me find out from you, do you feel at some point, I know you've been talking about this, but do you feel at some point that the older generation have let us down when it comes to this particular fight?
It's sad that even though measures have been taken, because we can't say nothing was done, because we've seen actual footages of soldiers trying to do something and even a police losing his life. So we can't say nothing has been done. But then what, in this whole fight, is it that these people are trying to protect some people, or is it that they are just being pushed in there to cover up activities? Because I remember seeing this thing, what's it called? A gate that was, they were kind of like locking the forest or something, I've forgotten. But then I saw it on Erastus's social media, and the miners had kind of broke it down and had still gone in there to do their activities. So
is that a quota mining situation?
Yes. I don't think this generation or this government has done like something tangible. I don't know how to put it, because it's like we see it on TV, we see that something is happening, but then we don't see the effect of it, because we are seeing our water bodies being spoiled. So we don't see the effect of whatever is happening. And one thing that saddens me is I don't want this country to turn into a state of anarchy, because we see other countries. I've seen footages of Peru, and what's happening there is horrible. People are being killed just to leave their lands for illegal miners to take over. And we don't want that to happen here. We don't want that to happen here. We have, I don't know if I should say we've lost hope, because I've not really lost hope. I still want to believe that all this will yield something, but then for now, it's not really yielding anything. And like the child said, our waters are like this way chocolate drink, and if you see aerial views of the country, of these places, it's just so sad. I wish something more could be done, but then I don't know if that can be achieved. I want to hope that that can be achieved, but then I'm scared it's not really it.
Well, let me bring in Julius. I'm told this time he's on phone. Julius, thank you for joining us. It looks like we're having connection issues with you, but I was asking you earlier about how you feel about this whole fight and whether we've been let down at some point. We may have lost hope now, but do you think that we can actually win this fight, and what can we do to actually win it?
Non-existent in the first place is that the people involved in the campaign and the people trying to stop it know each other. The president cannot claim that he doesn't have intelligence on what activities happen in every district in this country. He is aware. The situation we are facing is that they only wait, and then when the media starts bringing up the issues of Galamsey again, then the president reacts to the effects of what is going on and not what the problem itself. So there's no reaction to the Galamsey problem. The reaction we get from the presidency is a reaction to the cries of Ghanaians to tone them down for a moment, and when everyone goes silent again, then the operation continues. And this is the reason why this is happening. The people who are most likely to be affected by Galamsey are not the people doing it, or are not the people who have the power to stop it. If water bodies are polluted, the people who are most likely to be affected first are poorer Ghanaians who will need to get water directly from those rivers. The president, his ministers, and all the others who have the power to stop this thing will still get clean water no matter what happens. So they don't feel the urgency to solve the Galamsey issue. So that is the real situation. That's the reality we are dealing with. It is not a matter of there's some commitment and then they are finding it difficult. If the presidency wants Galamsey to stop today, it will stop today. There is no real intention for Galamsey to stop. Recently, the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources says since he has been in power, no concessions have been given to people to mine in the forest area. And there are documents which show that they have given approval to some people to go in there. So the truth is they are not being genuine with that. They only react because of the political implications of people shouting about the effects of Galamsey, and that is what they come out to care. They don't want to care the real issue. So if ordinary citizens want the issue of Galamsey to end, we must get involved ourselves. That is the reality. We must get involved ourselves. And the implication for the whole Galamsey thing is going beyond even pollution of water bodies and the environmental issues. We have people in cocoa farming. There was this viral video that we all saw, giving their cocoa lands out for Galamsey. What are the reasons? The reasons are because our cash crop producers don't feel rewarded for the job they do. So if there's no reward for being in other ventures, and there's reward in doing something that is very illegal and pollute the environment for everyone else except you, the person doing it, why won't people go into doing that? And that is the situation we are facing. So if we really want to solve Galamsey issue, the problem is multifaceted. The issue of unemployment, not only for those who are not doing anything, but some people who are even trying. Look at the cocoa farmers. They are trying, but there's no reward for the job they are doing. We must deal with that. We must employ the youth. If the youth don't have other means of survival, they will go into Galamsey. So provide alternatives and they will leave that thing. Who wants to be diving into, rivers and be going to dig out? Who wants to do that if there was something else to do? So they are not interested in solving the real issues. They are interested in solving, the reactions to the problem. And there's no way they can solve that if they don't solve the real issue. So it will catch up with the authorities in the long run. But we, the ordinary citizens, until we take the fight into our own hands, it's going to continue. That's the reality.
Enough in this particular canker or menace, you would say?
I can't hear you.
I'm asking that as youth, do you think we've been involved enough in this Have we been even engaged in this discussion in the
As an
first
individual,
place?
I still have been involved enough on the issue of galamsey.
As youth, I say.
Well, we always talk about it. We always shout about the effects of galamsey on social media. We are always lamenting the effects of galamsey and all. But I mean, the immediate communities that these things happening. If I'll be sincere with you, the closest thing to a galamsey site I have witnessed is being in the vehicle and seeing the site.
Mm.
So even as an individual, except that a time may come where I may not be able to afford water, I'm not I've not been directly impacted by the communities that these things are happening in. There's a first point of call. Are they tolerant of the issues? We see little children going to school and then their way is blocked by galamseyers and all these things. Why are there no repercussions to those who are in authority for this sort of thing? You have district assembly officials in your community, and galamsey operators block your roads, and then the DC goes to his office and he goes peacefully. Why is he going to his office peacefully? Why are the people of the community not demonstrating and occupying those places? So I think we have been overly tolerant of the whole galamsey thing. DCs should not be comfortable in any district where galamsey is ongoing and the locals are suffering. Because if you look at it, the people who even get the concessions, you heard Nana Santini when he spoke about galamsey. You'll be there as a traditional leader, then someone comes and says he has concession from Accra. What can a chief do about that?
Okay.
So the people who even do the galamsey are mostly not even the indigenes of the area. They're not indigenous. It's few cases, in the case of a chief who was arrested recently and all, that you have them directly involved. The major beneficiaries of the galamsey are not inhabitants of the area. So why are the people in those areas allowing them? Why are they allowing them? So I think it's something about the Ghanaian tolerance of, excuse me to say, nonsense, over the years. That has encouraged galamsey. We have tolerated enough of these things.
Okay. Julius, I'm wondering what happened to the time. Just when I blinked, it looks like we just have about 5 minutes to go. But Apawu, let me find out from you, if I ask you what your fear is for this country, especially with our environment, amongst others, what would it be? We need to be
my fear is that eventually even products that come from Ghana may not be accepted globally. If the world knows that your cocoa is grown in areas that, these chemicals that are used in mining are polluted, why should anyone want to purchase cocoa from you? So it has implications on our revenue generation. My fear is that our forest reserves are going extinct. There are some plant species that will be gone, some animal species that will be gone. My fear is that there's a point in time where water will not flow reliably in my home because the water we drink comes from these rivers. And that is what, urban dwellers who keep quiet about these issues of galamsey forget. That if these things continue,
Thank you.
And we keep quiet, the spillover effect will get to all of us in the long run.
Thank you, Julius. This is not the last. We'll have this discussion. I need to move on to my other panelists on this. Erastus, thankfully, has also joined us. I was hoping Apawu would tell us about the fear, but it looks like we should be wrapping up at this point. But Erastus, we're expecting part 2 of Distraction for Gold starting tomorrow. As if we've not seen it all, what are we to expect?
In fact, tomorrow we'll be going to Dumpim, where the Deputy Lands Minister hails from, and you will see the distraction from there. We'll try to trace the pollution of rivers like Bonsa and the River Nui close to Dumpim and Takwa. And so that's what you should expect. And then we'll be getting a bit of expert advice of mercury and how it affects our daily environment, the food on your table, and all that.
Well, but in all this, Erastus, I'll come to you, Apawu, shortly. In all this, Erastus, on your trips, putting together this documentary, Distraction for Gold, what would you say has been the involvement of the youth in this?
In fact, I was impressed with what the youth of Abisua Abumpe in the Atrimamponua district did. these are farmers and their children. And they said that, well, we are at the direct impact of what is happening. So they mobilized themselves and chased the illegal miners in their jurisdiction away from that area because they feel they are not getting water to water their crops. They are not getting water for even their animals. And so that reaction has ensured that in that particular jurisdiction, there is no illegal mining when I went there. And I think that is remarkable.
Okay. Well, we look forward to part 2 of Destruction for Gold. And it's airing at the same time. That's at 8:30 p.m. on the Joy News channel. Also on the Super Morning Show tomorrow morning on Joy 99.7 FM. You don't want to miss it. Erastus, we can't thank you enough for putting together this and leading this No to Galamsey fight. But Amina, let me come to you in the studio. It's time. We need to go. So if you were to speak directly to those in authority, legislature, executive, judiciary, all combined, what will be that one message that you give them?
I'll tell them to please consider us, have mercy on us, and do something about this whole Galamsey menace, because our people are suffering. Our farmers are the ones feeling, and even we ourselves will feel the brunt of it, because as a nation, we cannot depend wholly on imported goods. We produce our own food, but then now Galamsey is ruining our lands. And if we'll keep on going this way, there'd be no food to eat, and then there will be no water to drink.
Okay.
And we need that to survive.
Thank you very much. And this is not the last. No to Galamsey is still on. So just watch out. We'll bring you more on this. We are not relaxing on this at all. We must win this fight. No to Galamsey, and we definitely will win it. And that's how we wrap up tonight's edition of The Probe here on the Joy News channel. For our radio audience, we have a Walk of Jesus coming up next. Please stay with us and continue the discussion on our social media platforms. #No to Galamsey.